So can President Biden retaliate against Iranian-backed militias who have carried out attacks on U.S. troops in the Middle East? And this is the big part, without it turning into a wider conflict. Joining me now, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State in the Obama administration, Joel Rubin. He's also running for Maryland's 6th Congressional District. So glad to have you back tonight. Every time we talk, there's a major conflict happening. And my questions are always to you about how does this not turn into a bigger and wider conflict? I mean, diplomacy is the delicate dance, and we talked about it a lot. So when you look at this, is the message received in a way that still keeps America safe?
Well, you know, Laura, look, this message has to be received in Tehran. The president has been consistently stating publicly that there is no interest in having a war for the United States, between the United States and Iran. But Tehran pulls the strings of these proxy groups. And so I think what these strikes are doing is sending a very careful and calibrated message, targeting those who committed the acts, the sin, essentially, against our troops by killing American troops unjustifiably. If this message is not received, then what we're going to see potentially is continued attacks. I think that the Iranians, they have to take a breath and they have to look at what is happening in the region. They are exploiting right now, from my perspective, the fight between Israel and Hamas. And they're exploiting it, and they're testing and they're prodding, be it in the Persian Gulf with the Houthis or now in Iraq and in Jordan, as we've seen. And this has to be a message that they get clearly, and I hope they do get it.
It doesn't stop here in terms of the strategy, right, for the military in the United States. One is thinking strategically a couple steps ahead.
Yeah.
What is Biden's next move, or what should it be?
Well, what he needs to be doing is something that George W. Bush did not do. And there's a lot of discussion about, is this a slippery slope to a war with Iran? You know, I served in the State Department during the Bush administration when we invaded Iraq. And there's one crucial component that was missing then that I believe the president's engaged in now, which is diplomacy. Back then, George W. Bush engaged in diplomacy in the service of war. Today, President Biden, he's sending out a Secretary of State this coming week to the region to try to make sure that it's not in the service of war, but that it's in the service of peace and security. So opening up channels with our allies to speak to Tehran and potentially maybe even finding a route to talk to Tehran directly to calm this situation down, that's crucial. And I think that's where the president is trying to lead this, and that's what he's publicly messaging all the time.
When you look at this and think about us getting to this particular point, there's been a lot of considerations. Will this be the ultimate deterrence?
You know, the ultimate deterrence, there's no magic bullet to resolving all the problems in the Middle East. And that's the hard part of this region. And it's been this way for decades. But what one has to do is ensure that they are applied and engaged consistently. I've said this to you in the past, and I truly believe this. Iran would like the United States to depart the Middle East. Well, this is a demonstration and a reminder that we're not going anywhere. And there needs to be an engagement strategy. And the United States is engaging with our allies, and this is going to be part of that. And hopefully the message is received in Tehran and that our diplomacy will complement that.
Joel Rubin, as always, thank you so much.